So, you're starting a new business, or perhaps you want to innovate. And with the latter I mean that you have a technology that you wish will make an impact on society. You therefore go through the motion. You look for someone who has a problem to which you think your innovation is a solution to. You draft a value proposition canvas and you start validating your assumptions in your target markets. But how do you pick that target market? How do you define it? And why is, well, this technology can be applied to numerous different markets and problems, so we go for that. A really bad idea. In this e-learning we'll answer those questions and give you some tools to address the issue. The main goal of this video, however, is to make you aware of the different aspects you need to be aware of when figuring out your market. We won't go in too much detail, so we urge you to read up on that. First off though, did you know that the biggest reason why a high-tech startup fails is the fact that they're addressing the wrong markets? CB Insight created a nice overview of this, and here's the top part. Hence, it's crucial that you do proper homework before you start working on the solution. Here's a high-level overview of that homework. First step is to figure out what or who the market is. Second step is to know that market. Third step is to figure out what that problem actually looks like, what form it takes, and whether it's a priority issue for them, or just an annoyance, or even no problem at all. After you've done those three steps, then you should start thinking about the shape your solution should take, and then with that concept in mind, you start interviewing your market, again to validate your solution. This video only addresses the first step and will help you map the different segments and identify your beachhead and long-term markets. The reasons why segmenting the market is so vital is because it will have an impact on the future development of your technology. Next to that, it's vital to understand who your customer is, what they are willing to pay depending on the problem you address, how to address that customer, and most importantly, which parts of your perceived market you can ignore, simply because the need for your product in that market is too small. Because this has such a fundamental impact on your solution, we advise you to do this exercise already at an early stage, during your feasibility study, and later on when you have a better understanding of the market and your value proposition, you can reiterate. Good, let's get cracking. In order to formulate your market segment, you need to do 4 things. Identify potential markets, segment these markets, map these segments, and finally generate a strategy by picking your beachhead and long-term market segments. Great. Identifying your markets starts with simply brainstorming. Anything goes. Sit together with your team, ideally with somebody familiar with the market type you wish to address, and start writing down as many market opportunities as you can think of. No idea is too crazy. Pruning comes later. After you've done this with your brainstorm, you can do the initial pruning. For example, you can remove markets that do not fit your company values. This obviously depends on your company values, but it's possible that you don't want to be active in markets that deal with or contribute to, for example, weapons, pornography, or pollution. Next, you check whether the remaining opportunities are proper market segments. Perhaps you need to group or split up or restructure certain opportunities. Okay, but what then are market segments? A proper market segment is a social coherent group. This can be a demographic like middle-aged men between 40 and 50, female students in the Netherlands, elderly in care homes, or everyone who lives in Twente. It can be a type of company like semicon, construction, or even startups. It could also be behavioral driven, like anyone with a debt, anyone who shops online, anyone who travels a lot. Point is There must be a social coherence within that group, and they all should share a clear pain, to which your product is the solution. Often there's also a geographical consideration in your segmentation. Overall, you should be able to check these 3 boxes when you've identified a social coherent group. 1. They all are active in similar value or supply chains. 2. They all have similar sales cycles. And 3. They know or at least are aware of each other. The first is fairly straightforward because they are in similar business with similar supply chains, they most likely buy similar products and have similar needs and challenges. The second is important because if you have to reinvent the wheel for every sales cycle, you won't get far and you need to grow fast. And finally, the third is essential because if they are aware of each other, it will facilitate word of mouth and referrals, which again is invaluable for the growth of your business. Nailing the connection between these points really drives home why both defining and later picking the right segment matters. By targeting groups with shared buying habits and decision times, you are streamlining your effort and naturally boosting growth through their own networks, which enhances the potential for organic growth through mutual connections within the segment and makes it easier to capture adjacent segments later on. For this reason, it is thus vital that you have some initial interviews with representatives of your perceived segments, or at least do some research by, for example, using Google, reading market reports on those segments. This to get a better idea of whether what you think of them actually aligns with reality. Once you have segmented your entire market and gotten some feeling for the segments by doing research, you create a strategy on how to capture that market. Given that you can't do everything at once, you start mapping those segments. You do that with the use of this 2-dimensional matrix. The 2 segments that are of interest are the high-paying niche market, which can function as your beachhead market, and the blue ocean markets, which are large markets with a big pain and little to no competition. FYI, red ocean means that there is a big market with a pain, but with lots of competition. Sharks swimming around that will eat you alive. Hence, the current pain in that market is much less as there are already solutions available. And while we're at it, the term beachhead is borrowed from the military, where it is used as a strategic invasion of a military force. For example, the invasion of the Allied forces in Normandy in 1944. Hence, your beachhead market is a very small and strategically chosen first market you are going to invade. The advantage of a high-paying niche market is it's an ideal test market who most likely don't mind if your product doesn't immediately work perfectly, and it keeps the potential sharks at bay. When you've identified the market type for each segment, then you can map these segment market type combinations onto another graph. Market size versus product roadmap. The end result should look similar to this graph. Here you have market size on the y-axis ranging from small to large, and your product development on the x-axis ranging from your minimal viable product up to your full-featured product. Now with this graph you can create a rudimentary strategy for your product and market development. Which segments are you going to address? Which segments are currently unclear or uncertain? And which segments will you ignore? This graph effectively highlights your beachhead market, which ideally reflects your minimal viable product, or MVP in short, for a high-paying niche market. Now why is this? Why don't you simply and immediately go for this one up there? Because of the time it takes to capture a market. And to properly understand this, we need to go back to 1962 when Everett Rogers published his Diffusion on Innovation. This book got some updates in the decades that followed it, but the essence remained the same. this. And in case you're wondering, yes, this is the origin of the famous startup hockey stick growth. Also note that the hockey stick has an ending. This S-curve graph is, however, better known by its non-cumulative sister, also created by Rogers in the third edition of his book in 1983, which looks like this. For those unfamiliar with these curves, let me give you a short introduction. When you push a new technology into the market, whether it be medication, software, hardware, all innovative products follow this path when they successfully enter the market. This because the adaptation of the technology goes through social systems. A simple example, if both your neighbors installed a new type of lock in their front door at the same day, you're probably inclined to at least have a look at this and likely install one yourself in time as well. Okay, let's have a better look at this graph. And let's do that using a real-life example, Salesforce. I guess that everyone who watches this video is familiar with the term SaaS, Software as a Service. There was, however, a time that SaaS didn't exist. Salesforce was the first to coin that term and introduce it into the market. Salesforce created the first online software tool for customer relation management, or in short, CRM. When Salesforce launched in 1999, introducing business applications through a website, they targeted the innovators. Roughly 2.5% of the market keen on or adopting this revolutionary software as a service model. These innovators, primarily tech-savvy business and startups in need of a scalable CRM solution without the traditional on-premise overhead, were willing to embrace the risks associated with this improved innovation. Financially capable of handling the potential losses, these innovators, however, are more often socially isolated and rely on close-knit networks. Still, they set the stage for Salesforce pioneering SaaS delivery approach. After the innovators validated Salesforce's revolutionary software as a service model, the early adopters, visionary leaders within their industries, began to recognize its potential, representing the second group, the early adopters. These are more integrated into the local social system than the innovators and are known for their discerning adoption choices and opinion leadership. Often serving as role models, these companies, frustrated with the limitations and costs with the traditional CRM software, were drawn to Salesforce for its rapid deployment customization and the promise of a scalable CRM solution. Their higher degree of opinion leadership and role as industry trendsetters further set the stage for Salesforce expansion. Capturing most of the early adopters not only validates the innovation, but also paves the way to engaging the early majority, approximately 34% of the market. This group, adopting just before the average market member, requires evidence of success and often succumbs to peer pressure or desire to match their peers before adopting new technologies. As Salesforce's SaaS model gained credibility, it attracted more pragmatic companies, especially larger ones needing solid proof of benefits, stability and scalability. Which brings me to a side note. This is most likely the most challenging phase for any startup because during this phase your company needs to do two things. One, scale, which is a vast challenge on itself, and two, start with the introduction of your next product or start entering into new market segments. Once Salesforce has effectively engaged the early majority, demonstrating the value and stability of its SaaS model, it naturally progressed to address the late majority, another 34% of the market. This group, characterized by their skepticism towards innovations, only adopts new technologies after seeing widespread societal acceptance. Their motivation often stems from social pressures and the economic benefits of more affordable solutions. The broader acceptance of SaaS and cloud computing encouraged even the most conservative companies, previously wary of cloud security and burdened by a lengthy procurement process, to adopt Salesforce. By this stage, Salesforce had solidified its position as CRM leader, significantly reducing the perceived risk of adoption for the late majority who now found the proposition increasingly compelling due to the social conformity and impressive cost effectiveness. Finally, Salesforce addressed the last group, the laggards, 16% of the markets. Laggards, known for their aversion to change and adherence to tradition or financial constraints, only embrace innovations when they become necessary or achieve conventional standard status. For Salesforce, here you can think of government agencies and business sectors with stringent, compliant demands that were traditionally slow to adopt new technologies. They transitioned to Salesforce cloud-based CRM only when it emerged as the industry standard or when their existing legacy systems reached obsolescence. As I said, all markets you address will follow this path if you manage successfully execute this. As you might remember, about 42% of the startups fail on this account. This because more often than not, their market penetration curve does not look like this, but looks more like this. Or if they really did bad market research, not even that. Most technology-based startups don't make it beyond this point, which is about 17% of the market share, and then as a consequence fail because of the no market need reason. So what's up with that? Let's go back to the example of an innovative lock both your neighbors installed. Imagine two scenarios. 1. Your left neighbor installs a new innovative lock. For the next 3 years nothing happens, and then somebody across the street, 3 doors down the right, also installs that new lock. Or scenario 2. Your left neighbor installs a new innovative lock, and 1 week later your right neighbor does the same. Do you feel the difference? So you can conclude that timing is crucial. And there lies the essence. If it takes too long for your product to penetrate the market, you won't get noticed, and therefore you do not generate enough awareness for the market to catch on. This means that you need to hit that, let's call it the 17% mark, ASAP. Fail to do that, and your market introduction will look like this. And assuming that you start a high-tech startup with limited resources, you will not have the capacity, time and money required to penetrate a large market fast enough. Therefore, you're doomed to fail if you try. And that's the reason why you start in a high-paying niche market. A smaller market segment with a huge appetite for your innovation will make it a lot easier to get started. This allows you to build up the experience required to enter that large market. And at the same time, prove to the rest of the world, like investors, that you are capable of delivering. And that's it on this topic, on market segmentation. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Rolf Segers, and I'll see you in the next one.